The that airplane taking off is Nicholas Charbonnet. We got Chris Porter here for the Chromecast.com, episode number 4, China. Nicholas Charbonnet has traveled to China with his jet-propelled laptop and is going to report to us today on what's going on there. And we've got Chris Porter. So I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves, and then we're going to get right into the latest news on Chromecast, and we're going to find out where what the HDMI stick capital of the world is doing there in Hong Kong, China. So Chris, you start. Nick, you need to mute yourself there a little bit. There you go. Mute yourself and let Chris talk for a bit.
Hey, I'm Chris Porter in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm an audio-video integrator and general technology enthusiast. You can find me more about me online at cwporter.me, or right on Google+.
All right, over to you, Nick.
Well, welcome.
Hong Kong. I just arrived here in Hong Kong.
There we go.
I'm going to Shenzhen in the next few hours, and I'll be in Shenzhen for 2 weeks, investigating all the latest with the HDMI sticks.
You lost your audio. All right. No audio. No audio. No audio.
Hey, do you hear me now?
I hear you now, but we're also hearing that whining sound.
No whining. Is that now? Is there a whining now?
Yeah,
It's not coming to the microphone. It's coming from your laptop.
Yeah, it's coming from your laptop.
Oh, really?
You got to redirect your audio to your mic.
I guess it's because I'm using this Intel-powered laptop. Really, like noisy and hard.
Yeah, you need to make sure you're using mic as your audio source.
Okay, I'll try to.
Audio input. Switch audio input to the mic.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
There you go.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Now we're settled down here. We got the Intel laptop whining noise problem solved. So, Nick, why don't you start over? Just tell us why you're in China, whatever possessed you to go to China, how it fits in with your general game plan, and what you hope to accomplish there.
So I have this website, armdevices.net, and I'm also launching a new feature on it that's kind of about all the people that are interested in all these HDMI sticks that want to kind of like sell them and distribute them around the world. If they need any information about or suggestions or like guidance and how to find a factory that can distribute them all over the world, like that can source them. For example, here there's one with a like this is a female HDMI port, so you can use any HDMI cable to connect it to your TV, so you don't need to like kind of like go in behind your TV to connect it. And it might be a little bit more bulky, but it has a USB host on this side.
Oh yeah, the USB host.
Do you see that? Big USB host and a big mini jack output on that side. On the other side, you can power it with a mini jack over here. And on the side, you have micro SD. That's just an example of one of the. Yes. This is a bulkier kind of HDMI stick, but it's running a quad-core CPU, the latest quad-core from Rockchip, which is a Chinese processor. And in theory, you can multi-boot, perhaps. That's going to be the investigation that I'm doing here to try to figure out how many of these HDMI sticks could perhaps run the Chromecast feature on them. I'm going to ask all the Chinese HDMI stick software developers to see if they can take that software and kind of either run it on top of Android. Maybe there's an application that's Chromecast on Android that could like be the server. Have you heard about anything like that? But that's what I'm looking for, if there might be one, or dual boot Chrome OS and Android on the HDMI stick, and the Chrome OS might be more like of a Chromecast version of Chrome OS, or there might even be 3, like you have Chromecast, Chrome OS, and Android on the same device, and maybe even Ubuntu also.
Nicholas, what OS are these HDMI sticks running right now?
So they all run Android, just plain Android. You move around the mouse, for example, and shows an arrow on Android. So everything in China right now is just Android, which is cool, which is fine, but Android is for touchscreen devices,
Right.
I think, kind of optimized for that. So either we have to wait for Android 5 to include a whole bunch of desktop features, which is some of the rumors that might be like where you have more like windowing, like you can have different windows for different apps, or something that like more like similar to Windows, more similar to Windows, like a mode in Android that looks more like a desktop, or we'd have to kind of expect to have some kind of hybrid between Chrome OS and Android, and with also a whole bunch of features, so you could have Ubuntu running like kind of like an application on top of Android. That's going to be interesting to see too.
Well, so here's my question to you, Nicholas. What do you think the future of television is? Do you think that people still want to interact with an OS on the TV, or do you think that the future is more toward something like the Chromecast, where you're not actually interacting really with the TV anymore? The TV is just an external display to share other content that you have on your smaller device. Are we headed toward that, or do people still want to have all the apps and all the full featured functionality of a computer within a box on their TV?
I think there might be some kind of hybrid. It might kind of disappear, like the UI kind of disappears with Chrome OS, which is cool. But I think it would be best to give the people a Chrome browser that's independent of whatever tablet, Android phone, whatever you have. You need to have a Chrome browser on your TV that's like Chrome OS at the minimum, so you can just pull out any Bluetooth keyboard and mouse and have the desktop running.
So you basically like just to see Chrome OS, but with the Chromecast capability also.
Yeah.
And then you can have whatever apps that you have in
I'd like to
Chrome
see Chrome
OS show up there.
I think the reason they haven't included it yet is maybe just concern over performance. So if it's not fast enough, they'd rather not include it yet. But
Right.
it might support it. But they might not have enabled it yet. But
Well,
We're looking at an article here. It says this is from the EE Times, the Electrical Engineering Times, kind of a technical website. And it says China beat Google to Chromecast. And the guy says that when he saw Google's Chromecast launch last week, he had a moment of deja vu. He bought a similar product for about $40 in Shenzhen, where you're headed, and in the Hockey, how do you pronounce that? Hockey Bay Market.
Huaxiang Bay.
Huaxiang Bay Market.
Which is the coolest street in the world, by the way. It's the coolest.
And then he said he never had much luck making it work because the software interface was in Chinese. It was hard to use. And he didn't think much about it. And then he saw the Chromecast, and suddenly he had one of those inflection point moments. And he said, why was Google first to mass market a device like this in the U.S. over a year later? Where was Apple, HP, or Sony? And how is it obscure, fabulous companies, Telechips in this case, are designing these products, not ViewSonic or Logitech? Was Chromecast the result of some Google engineer wandering around the, I'll let you say it,
the Huaxiang Bay.
Huaxiang Bay Video Hall like me. So this guy ordered the product, and then he said, just like Michael Dell launched a multi-billion-dollar company. In fact, he did that right here in Austin, Texas, from his dorm room using cheap modular parts in Taiwan right under the noses of IBM and HP. We're seeing a new generation of makers taking cheap standard parts and creating clever new products. And this time, though, it's the software that'll differentiate and deliver winners. So this is a picture of the guy in the market here. So I'm going to let you comment on that, Nick. What do you think about that article? What he has to say there?
Yeah, well, basically, he was reading my blog, and so was Google, watching all my videos about the HDMI stick, and of course, everybody thinks this is completely, insanely magical, because you know we used to have desktops that are like huge, and like my laptop, Intel powered, that's so power hungry, using 100 watts and running bloatware. And now we're moving into something that's just Android, an ARM part, like a tiny ARM processor doing everything, and it's fast enough. It's
So
just about to be fast enough.
what is it going to take for a guy like you and me to get together, find an investor here in Austin, Texas, and put out a product that'll be like the Dell computer was to the IBM PC?
Well, that's it. You can do it right now. You can do it with $5,000 investment. You can start a tablet company in Shenzhen, or you can start a HDMI stick company in Shenzhen. It's so like non-exclusive. Like it's not for the billionaires to start startups in this business. You just go with an idea and you try to either make it open source, or you make it run the best possible software you can think of. You could do an Ubuntu stick if you want and call it the Ubuntu Crast, or you can do all these things, and the development in there is just accelerating, and it's getting easier, and it's getting better, and within a few months the performance of one of these is going to be plenty enough for any kind of desktop OS, any kind of feature you want on the TV. And this one alone is going to be able to play video games that are better, that are just as good enough, like that are better than the Xbox or a PlayStation 3 or a Wii. And this is all included in a bill of materials is $20 or
So
30, it depends.
what about the Chromecast feature set? Now, will the Chromecast feature set be a subset of the feature set of that product? Will you be able to do everything with one of those that you can do on a Chromecast?
Right now you can do much more on the Chinese sticks, but they don't run this simplified Chromecast software yet. So it's just I'm still trying to kind of understand, and maybe I just need to go on the Chromecast website on the google.com and see and click on the some kind of open source link or something. Maybe the whole software is there to run these on a Marvell powered device. But the Marvell powered HDMI sticks are not on the Chinese market. They only use a whole bunch of other processors like telechips, but mostly it's Rockchip right now, and some Allwinner, and some other stuff too. But it's gonna be interesting to see if the head of Chrome and Chrome on Android is gonna come out on stage again very soon and say, "Here's the Chrome stick, open source OS, anyone can go and download, and it's optimized for all the CPUs, for all the ARM-powered chips, for all the, and it's just open source, free, available right now. So you don't have to start a multi-million-dollar software investment when you release one of these. You just use Google software, and it's just pre-installed, and that's it."
I think they do have a receiver API for developers for the actual receivers of the Chromecast receivers, but I haven't looked into it deeply, so don't quote me on that. But what you're saying is you want people just to be able to bake the Chromecast capabilities into their existing HDMI devices, right?
Yeah, perhaps these Android HDMI sticks can just have the Chromecast kind of like API integrated in a Chromecast app maybe, or something that's just running all the time in the background on Android. That might be good enough and offer the same functionality maybe, but I'm thinking the whole Chromecast OS, the whole stack, the whole firmware, the whole, like if you want to have because the cheapest HDMI sticks out of China is below 20 now dollars. You might even be able to import some for like $15 or maybe even less.
And these are the ones that have the quad-core processors, like the one that you're holding?
The quad core is maybe more like above 20 or 30 or something like that, but
Okay.
just because they are the latest, fastest. But if you want a basic one that's fast enough to run all the video codecs, which is what Chromecast does, and just fast enough to do the basic Chromecast features, maybe it's even $10 before the end of the year, you know?
What about
So
Ethernet capability?
that's exactly something they can do. That's if you want Ethernet on one of these, you go to the Chinese factory, you sit down with the CEO, and you say, Ethernet, Ethernet, and you make sure they understand, and it's going to be there when they come out of the.
All right, we want you to come home. You know, you need to do this over the next couple of days. You need to get Ethernet capability. You need to get complete clone of Chromecast capability, and exceed the Chromecast stick. Have everything the Chromecast does, plus a much wider subset where you actually have a computer on a chip.
That's exactly what's happening here. This is Chromecast Plus, and the potential is Chromecast, Chrome OS, Android OS, Ubuntu. It's kind of insane. I think it's insane, and there's no batteries in here, so it's super cheap to send it around the whole world. You just put it in an envelope. You don't need a warranty or anything like that. It's never gonna break. It's just like it's a
those
PCB in
HDMI
a
tips.
plastic box.
Yeah, well, those HDMI tips can be fragile sometimes. But here's my question. Don't you guys just think that we're seeing the first Chromecast right now? I mean, won't there be a version 2, a beefier thing? Will Google do more with this than they did with Google TV? You know, what do y'all think? Is there going to be a second version of this 6 months from now?
Google, you can't predict. I mean, they roll out a lot of products and then poof, they're not there anymore. It's like they never heard of it. What was that product? You know, and you never hear about it again.
Right.
Hopefully, they're going to keep producing these things and get millions and millions of these things out there. But they were a little bit short-sighted not to foresee the tremendous demand, the crush, to get these things, because there's a worldwide shortage of Chromecasts right now.
Google can easily afford to manufacture 100 million of these right now. So it's not a cash issue. It's just the guy in the office, probably Larry Page or some other guy, when they decide how much money to invest in manufacturing, that's the only question. How many they want to make, and of course, Google has to make so much hardware in the future. That's just something people have been dreaming about since the beginning of Google, but now it needs to happen.
Where are these being made in China?
So everything is made in Shenzhen.
No, I mean, where's the factory for the Chromecast in China? Are you going to go visit that?
I would guess it's one of the bigger ones. So I guess they don't work with a tiny factory. I guess they work with something like a Foxconn or a Pegatron or one of the Taiwanese-owned manufacturer that are kind of big enough to supply the demand that they would want to have. But I haven't tried to open it up or search on the Chinese forums and stuff for information about which factory it is. But who knows? Maybe I'll figure it out in the next few days. If anybody knows which factory it is, tell me at my email, sharbax@gmail.com, and I'll go make a video in the factory. And I'll try to
we need to have a chat room here. We got to get a chat room going so we can find out this stuff, don't we?
I'll hire some worker with a hidden camera, so they can enter the factory and with a hidden camera in the ear or something like that, on a pen cam,
Right.
and we'll get some behind the scenes how they make the Chromecast. So just let me know what the name of the factory is within the 20 miles from here. That's
that's your another homework assignment for you.
Well, Nick, you probably already have one of those pin cameras, don't you?
Yeah, I have a whole collection of these. I was speaking with a taxi driver in Denmark. He sued the policeman who gave him a fake fine or something. Got the policeman out of job because he was hiding the camera while the policeman was trying to make him pay a fine. That was not for real, and that was all. Just don't get in trouble, okay? If you have a hidden camera, if somebody sees it, just run. Just run.
Well, Nicholas, the first place I ever saw you was on Twit during CES with Leo when you were outfitted in the whole wearable technology long before Google Glass was out.
How did you see that? You're watching the.
I was watching the live stream.
Yeah, that was a live stream from the French conference, Le Web.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. It was great.
That was in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And I was showing off Google Glass to Leo Laporte and what's her name?
Sarah.
That girl. Sarah. Yeah, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah Lane.
Sarah Lane. And they were. She was saying, it's too. She doesn't want to wear it. It's not very well. It was kind of bulky, the one that I had.
Right.
That was about 6 months before they announced.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how that I know that you're on the forefront of all the technology trends. That you're 6 months ahead of everybody else, basically.
In the next 2 weeks, I expect to be able to film in a factory that makes $100 Google Glass. Just to tease a bit. This is a kind of like the factory price for the cheapest, lowest resolution micro display, but probably good enough to see whatever you need. But that's just the base price of bill of manufacture BOM of these kinds of devices, and it's going to be very fun in the future. What's going to happen with these, and I hope to be able to test a new version of these that's really a James Bond style in September next month. Hopefully I have to confirm if I can have it or not, but a newer version that's much more advanced than the Google Glass.
Do you think that Sergey and Larry have you bugged? That they're getting their ideas direct from you?
I know that they do, because I check my website statistics, and there's a lot of hits coming from the Google complex, the Googleplex. a lot of views from these offices over there, of course. But yeah, it'd be nice if they would sponsor my website. That's just an idea. I can add a little Google logo in the corner, here's my Google Plus, sponsored by Google. No, that's not gonna happen.
Well, it's exciting. Well, let's look at some of these other articles here that have come out and see what else is going there. This is a Marvell article here. Let's open that. Let me switch to the.
Can we open the Marvell article?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it up on the screen here. Here we go.
Does the sound come from this? My sound is this one?
There we go. This is Marvell. This is from a website called Tom's Hardware. And the Marvell reveals the Chromecast uses an Armada 1500 Mini. That Marvell supplied the SoC for. What's SoC mean for those that don't know, Nick?
System on a chip.
System on a chip for Google's supposed plug-and-play media streamer Chromecast. Images taken during FCC testing revealed the 88DE3005 Armada chip. There was presumably a single-core version of Marvell's Armada 1500, aka the 88DE3100. Now we know the actual name of Marvell's solution is the Armada 1500 Mini. And that's what it looks like.
So what does this mean for regular people? I mean, to a regular person, what does this mean?
Well, it shows a full dongle-side solution with Marvell's logo stamped on the shell in the HDMI plug, and this is the Chromecast. I guess the generic version of the Chromecast chip, don't you think, Nick?
I guess it might be optimized to have a POP RAM on top of the CPU to take up less space on the PCB. That's what Texas Instruments does to optimize. That's why the TI chip is in the Google Glass, and then you can do HDMI sticks because it's taking so little space on the PCB. So I guess that's what the Mini might be. It might be similar performance to a Google TV. I don't think maybe they clock it down a little bit. I'm not sure, but they still have a dual core, do they? Right?
Yeah, it's dual. It says it has 2 Marvell SMP cores clocked at 1.2 gigahertz, a GC1000 core for 3D graphics, QDO video processing, integrated security engine supporting various DRM schemes, support for HDMI 1.4, and a full suite of integrated peripherals such as USB, Ethernet, and I underline the word Ethernet there, SATA, and more. An integrated audio post-processor enables advanced audio algorithms such as Dolby, DTS, and AEC. So this thing is loaded, man. It's a loaded chip.
It's basically the same CPU as an ARM-powered Google TV, but optimized for stick. So every SoC maker is kind of doing that work, except I haven't really seen any from Qualcomm, or I'm sure NVIDIA is working on one for the Tegra 4 now. But every SoC maker is optimizing the processor, their SoC, for HDMI sticks, so you can have a smaller device, and that doesn't overheat. Also, that's optimized to make sure it doesn't like burn up and stuff. Because these HDMI sticks, the Chromecast is basically running 24 hours a day, all the time. It's just running. So it has to be preferably not too high power consumption, so you don't have to pay too much for your electricity. And so the power consumption is probably like 100 times less than a desktop computer. That's why it kind of is okay that it runs all the time. And that's some of the considerations they have. It's just a re-optimized Armada 1500 that's optimized for that functionality. So I'm pretty sure, unless they downgraded the RAM or something like that, which I don't see they have. Do they say that they have? I don't know if you could click on the 1500 Mini to see if it has any less RAM or anything like that, but I guess not. So I guess it could run a full Android and a full Chrome OS.
Well, it's
Chrome browser.
Yeah, it says consumers will likely see additional Chromecast-like products on the market using the Armada
to like 600 people right now.
Just turn on the monitor.
And so here's my question: are we going to see companies that make Google TV devices start to make these HDMI dongles? Are we going to see the Vizio dongle using this Armada 1500 Mini solution that incorporates a version of Chromecast along with their flavor of Android? Nicholas, do you expect in the U.S. market we're going to see a lot of HDMI dongles in the next year or two?
So a couple of years ago, I saw the Marvell CEO. He was on stage at the ARM TechCon, and he was basically talking about that to him, pretty much 98% of all new TVs will have this feature built in, because the bill of materials is below $20. So every new TV should have this built in. When you have the Google CEO saying that he would believe that half of all TVs, more than half, would have built-in Google TV, which didn't kind of happen, but that's basically what he was talking about. Is
Right.
This PCB, the size of the electronics that's inside a Chromecast should be built in the TV, but that's not it. You always have HDMI input, and you have hardware that gets faster and better every 6 months. So
Right.
just use the HDMI input to upgrade the hardware of your TV, because you keep your TV for 10 years.
Right.
So you'll have this built in by the end of the year with all TVs, I guess.
So you think it will be built in, but then will we be basically just replacing it every will we end up sticking a dongle in the back of it in 2 years when the hardware is better, or are they going to actually be able to upgrade the software inside the TV for us in order to take advantage of that?
So I guess if you have the hardware of a Chromecast from today, you would be able to upgrade like Chromecast get upgraded today, but you
Right.
won't be able to
to get beyond the hardware limitations. We lost your audio again, I
You
think,
got
Nicholas.
mic problems there, Nick. Mic.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
You got your noise back now. Noise
it's
back.
not on the microphone.
Not on the mic.
All right. It's
Okay,
Intel.
mute yourself for a minute while you're getting that fixed. Now I'm going to go back to this other article here.
Sure.
Let's go back to the 7 browser tricks to get the reduce streaming quality to improve video casting. These are 7 tricks you can use in your browser to get the most out of your Chromecast.
I thought this was interesting too because this was there's definitely one of them in here that I have been having an issue with, and I haven't tried it yet. So I'm curious to know if it actually works.
So one issue a lot of people have been talking about is the streaming quality isn't so great when you're tab casting. So when you're tab casting, you can reduce the quality down to 480p. It's not, your video's not going to be as sharp, but at least you can get a steady stream instead of a broken stream. And then here's a little tip to keep the full screen video going. When you send video from your phone or tablet to the Chromecast, you're free to close the app and do other things at the same time. But when you're using the Chrome browser to watch a video and you have it at full screen, otherwise it won't appear full screen on the TV. But there's a workaround. If you're a Windows user, you just hit Alt plus Tab while the video is playing in full screen, and then you can find yourself outside of the video window. Then you can do other things while the video is playing and while it continues to occupy the whole screen on your TV. And then to get back to the video on your computer, you just click the untitled Chrome window in the taskbar.
That only works on Windows?
That's all it says is Windows.
I have to try this. Because
it'll probably work on your Mac too.
That's the one that I've been having trouble with, is wanting to have full screen video on the Chromecast, but also wanting to do other things on my computer at the same time.
Yeah, it's probably Command Tab on your Mac. It'll probably do
all right, I got to find some live video here.
Okay.
I'll let you continue with the
okay.
tips.
While you're doing that, here's a way to stream local files from a Chrome tab. It turns out that Chromecast doesn't always stream its content straight from the internet. When casting a browser tab through Chrome on a Windows, PC, Mac, or Chromebook, you can open local files in the browser and they'll stream to the big screen over your local network. I know there's been a little bit of confusion about that, but apparently you can stream locally. And to do this, you enter file://c:/ in Chrome's address bar, or file://localhost/users/your username on a Mac, and then you drag and drop the file into Chrome, or press Control-O or Command-O on a Mac to show your system's file browser. Then hit the Cast button either before or after you choose the file you want, and Chrome will play the file as long as it's compatible with the file's codecs. So that's a cool little trick. If you can remember those, what to type in your browser, the file:// and all that. And then the other thing is how to mirror your entire PC display. Google didn't make a big deal about this feature, but you can actually mirror your entire PC display through Chromecast, not just your open browser tabs. You click the Cast button in Chrome and look for the little drop-down arrow on the far right to the same line as Cast this tab to, then click Cast Entire Screen, Experimental. And this is an experimental feature. It doesn't even support audio right now, but it could be useful for sharing photos, slideshows on your local PC, or throwing PowerPoint slides onto the big screen straight from Microsoft Office. So that's a cool little tip. It's too bad about the audio not working, though. So, and then the next thing is about streaming streaming audio from iTunes and Windows Media Player and other desktop program. It's again the full screen sharing doesn't support audio stream. We're getting that noise again.
Sorry.
So if you want to use Chromecast to play tunes from iTunes, VLC, or the Spotify desktop app, or another local media player, you could install a media server software such as Plex, which will allow you to play those files through a browser tab. But if you'd rather not install, let's go to scroll down, anything new, Google's own remote desktop app can help. Oddly enough, it's possible to open the computer you're currently using as a tab within the remote desktop app. Once you've set up remote desktop, open the app, select your current computer from My Computers list. The browser tab itself will show an infinite cascade of windows as the computer is essentially mirroring itself, but your local applications will open up without issue. Just make sure to turn off the audio on your computer, otherwise it will play on the computer and Chromecast at the same time. And then we have these hidden settings, but I think since this article was written, they've disabled these.
Yeah, those don't. Well, I don't think they ever worked actually, did they?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
I think it's settings that they're planning to put in, but haven't been implemented yet.
I don't think they've been implemented. And then a Team Viewer app, which is something you can download, is a makeshift remote. It's called, the nice thing about Chromecast is it lets you use your phone or tablet as a remote control. But right now the number of apps you can control is limited. If you have a laptop or desktop on your local network, you can use the free TeamViewer app to launch a video from Chrome on your PC and cast it to Chromecast. TeamViewer acts as a remote control for your PC, so once the video is up and running, you
so
can exit the app and keep it.
Use your phone to remote control the PC. That remote sends the remote video feed to the Chromecast.
Basically,
so it's a double remote.
So I did something like this with my iPad. Actually, I was able to get my iPad to be mirrored using AirPlay on the Chromecast, and basically you can use a little app called Air Server for OS X that sets up your computer as an AirPlay receiver. So because I can cast my entire screen to the Chromecast, I can set up my computer as an AirPlay receiver for the iPad, send the video from the iPad over to the computer, and then send the video from the computer to the Chromecast. It's kind of a kludgy and clunky workaround, but yeah, there's lots of little solutions out there to do these things, huh?
Yes, this is kind of a messy time right now, and Google needs to come and say clearly that they're going to support Miracast and DLNA, and they're just going to upgrade the firmware to add basic screencasting and all that, like standards that are in the market right now. So just be compatible with those because the hardware can support it.
Why do you think that they didn't support that from the get-go?
I think it's just because they want to limit stuff in the beginning and make sure that what they have works. But I'm sure that in the Google Office you have a version of the Chromecast running Chrome OS, and you have a version of the Chromecast running Android, and you have a version of the Chromecast with these features enabled and some with them disabled. And they just want to make sure that maybe they want to promote the whole extension for they want as many people as possible to install the Chrome extension. If you don't have DLNA, you don't have Miracast, then people have to install that extension to get more people using the extension. But that's just, I think it's just the introduction, and things are going to be much more streamlined in a future firmware, I guess.
Here's another little tip. There's a bonus tip here. You can help yourself to Google's gorgeous wallpapers. They are pretty nice. And so if you click on this link here on the Tech Hive, it'll take you right to a Google web page that has all the Yeah, and there's somebody threw them all into a zip file, so you can grab them all from there if you want to use those as your desktop background. If you can't get enough of Chromecast on your TV, you can have it on your desktop too. So Nick, it's exciting that you're in China, man, and you're going to get to learn so much, and you're going to get to see all these new sticks, and hopefully you're going to find the Google factory. We're really pulling for you to find it.
Yeah, I might find some other secret stuff. I'll let you know. If I find the Google Entertainment System, which I think is in the works, I'll let you know too.
Wait. What Google Entertainment System?
It's called GES.
All right.
It's the competitor to the new Xbox and to the new PlayStation and to the Wii U.
Okay.
And it's going to be on-powered, $49, $50, maybe $75, depends. Google Home Console.
Okay.
And it's been in the works for over a year at Google, and there's been all kinds of leaks and confirmations of leaks and stuff.
So when is it going to
ship? Even before the Nexus Q, they were working on this stuff, and they are shipping it when it's ready. So I think they're waiting for Android and Chrome OS to merge in some kind of usable form factor, and to be able to run all these games as a home console. I expect them to launch it before Christmas.
And this is going to be just a HDMI box, like a set-top box, or is it going to be a dongle? Is it going to come with remote controls? How's it going to work?
So I'm expecting it to look kind of like a Chromecast, and maybe they call it Chrome Play. I don't know what they're going to call it. Maybe they call it something else.
Or something.
Yeah, but in theory, the hardware does need to be bigger. Nothing needs ever again to be bigger than a Chromecast. This is like everything's in there theoretically, except you would want to have a bigger USB host port on the side. Maybe it's like more user friendly, and having some weird combination of charging and USB host in a long cable. So, but everything can fit in there. You can have Bluetooth 4.0 in there. You can have, what else would you need? Everything can be in there.
Is it the challenge to cram all the processing power that you need in there and still keep it inexpensive and from getting really, really hot? I mean, we see the Chromecast already. The $35 device gets really warm to the touch because it is running all the time, like you said. Is there not still a challenge to fitting that much juice inside of something that small?
Oh, it does get hot, but it's nothing compared to an Intel laptop. My laptop is burning right now. The table is a wooden table. It's right now it's hot here in Hong Kong, but it's not hot because of this weather. It's hot because of my laptop, I think. But I think they would want to have something like a Tegra 4 in that entertainment system, which is a whole other level of performance. I think that's what you need minimum to be able to run all the games in a satisfactory frame rates and with the details and all that. And you need to have OpenGL 3, which is the new 4.3 release. I guess maybe they're going to release it with Android 5, basically.
And you're basically saying at the beginning it would just run Android. It would run all the Android games.
Yeah, by day one you have all the Android games, and you have a bunch of mapping, so you can map the keys to joysticks. So you can sit back with something that looks like a Xbox controller or like a PlayStation controller, or you can even use the Wii controller, which is fine. You can go to the store and buy any of these, and they're just going to work because they all work on Bluetooth, and they all work on Android right now, as far as I know. So. But there might be some whole bunch of other cheap controller, like a Bluetooth controller for $10 or $15 or $20 also. So you'll have Chromecast support perhaps some of the functionality, because I guess Google is working also on server-based streaming of all the games. Like you have NVIDIA announced this cloud gaming system, and there was another system which I forgot, which kind of didn't really succeed, but was it OnLive? I guess Google is working on something like that. They're providing hosted 3D graphics live streaming. They would want to do that, I guess, also. So you would be able to run everything on a Chromecast even. So you just click on a Chromecast. If it has built-in Bluetooth, which I think it has, but then you might be able to just use a Chromecast. But
yeah,
you can have a slightly more powerful one that runs all the games locally also.
Yeah, see, I got excited about this idea a couple of years ago when I got my Google TV and, heard about OnLive and thinking that, oh, great, OnLive comes to Google TV, that becomes a new gaming platform all of a sudden, and it just never panned out. So I hope you're right. I hope, I would like to see that happen, but like we were saying earlier, we never know what Google is and is not going to continue to support anymore.
It is going to work in Austin, Texas, that's for sure, and in Kansas.
Oh, where they have the gigabit Ethernet.
Yeah, because you really need a fast. I mean, this Chromecast is perhaps controversial because one would think that everybody has bandwidth right now for unlimited YouTube, but it's not really like that. It's like if people start using YouTube twice as much as they usually do on their laptops and on their smartphones, if they start using it 2, 3, 4 times more, and if normal people start using it instead of TV, I mean, this is gonna break the internet potentially. So, I mean, in theory, it could if they don't upgrade anything. So it's huge amount of upgrade in the bandwidth system that needs to happen. Otherwise, we won't have anything working. I was in London on the Virgin Media internet for like a while, and YouTube was so terribly bad. I could barely see 240p version of YouTube. They didn't want to pay for the connection or something. They don't want to provide the customers good enough bandwidth to the YouTube servers.
YouTube
that's
is
gonna
bad
be that's gonna be a scary future. And if you want to have streaming games too, then you have to have even more.
Right. The more, I mean, we're already seeing internet service providers put a lot of caps on us because they see it coming. They see what's going on. That we're continuing to stream more and more content every day. So they're putting the bandwidth caps on us now. When we go, 5 gigs, 10 gigs, no big deal. That's plenty for me right now. But when all we're watching is Netflix and YouTube and other, various other streaming content, we're going to burn through that in a few days.
Yeah, I don't have the answer yet, but I've heard a rumor that in Google's terms of service, they're not going to allow servers on these Google Fiber networks, which is kind of disappointing. I haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet, but I'm hoping that they'll be a little more open-minded than to clamp down. I know Leo on one of his shows, he said that he had thought about packing up and moving to Austin until he heard about they weren't going to allow servers on the Google Fiber network.
Right. Well, what happened to gigabit?
I think they'll allow it, but you just have to pay. You'll have to pay $200 per month instead of $100.
That would be all right.
That's fine.
That would be okay.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just not going to be in a basic package where you can start a new hosting company to compete with HostGator in your home.
And that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of people just abusing the service, basically, right?
Yeah, because with the gigabit,
HostGator's up there on Breaker Boulevard. I did a little consulting in there. I'm sure they're shaking in their boots that I'm going to give them competition now.
Did you make the crash last week? Was it you? We went to.
They crashed.
It was me. Yeah, it was me.
That was sad for the people that got crashed websites. But in theory, with 1 gigabit per second upload, I mean, it's insane. You can do so much. You can have.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You could host this Hangout on your server and have something like 300 or 400 people watching it at the same time. So they don't really want people to do that from their home connections. It makes sense.
Right.
I'm just looking forward to being able to stream
not yet.
more than 360p.
Yeah.
So Nick, throw out a couple more wild and crazy predictions on what you think is going to happen in the tech world, okay? Since you're the go-to guy for this kind of stuff.
So we're gonna have the smartwatches. I have my smartwatch just over there somewhere. We're gonna have Google TV. Google Glass. All that is gonna be less than $300 before Christmas. Maybe less than $200. no, probably less than $300, hopefully for the glass. But Google is in this position right now where they could sell it for $500 or $600 and make a huge amount of profit, and people will still buy it. So who knows? Maybe Google wants to make some cash, some money. So I can't decide for Larry Page. He's the guy deciding. There's just one guy. He decides anything he wants, basically.
What do you think about glass, the future of glass? You think it's going to take off like Chromecast?
I've been using glass for 2 years now. It's going to be awesome, but you're not going to walk around with it all day, all night. You're going to wear it maybe less than 10% of your day when you want to be augmented. So when you walk in the street and you're looking for some place that you haven't been yet, you would wear it because it's just going to say, oh, don't forget to turn left, or, you know, and you don't want to stare at your smartphone all the time. So, or when you go to the supermarket, you want to be augmented, so you get to all the healthiest, cheapest groceries. Or when you go to some other kind of like event, you want to find all the companies or the friends or potential friends or people from your Google Plus circles at a party. You want to wear it and stuff like that. But it's not going to be all the time. But it's really fascinating because glass and the smartwatch is going to run the same kind of overlay UI that's on top of Android. And then we have the future of the Chrome OS, which is destroying Windows. That's also going to be fascinating to see, and we're seeing it right now with the Chromecast. But there's going to be Chrome sticks, some Chrome Xboxes, some home consoles, and everything merging also. It's just, and I'd like to see Google do something to compete with the Kindle, the e-readers also, because they've been talking about this Google Books for 8 years now or something, and they've been sued and suing back, but we need to have some. We need to have a Nexus with a readable screen, because even the new Nexus is like staring into the light bulb. We need to have a new technology, perhaps the Pixel Qi LCD technology. Now the Pixel Qi founder, CEO, and inventor is working at Google. So I'm hoping that they are going to basically invest $1 billion into making a new screen that makes your tablet run 20 times longer in a battery, and also makes it possible for you to go outside and read, or turn off the backlight and use it as a kind of like a Kindle. There's a whole bunch of other things that are happening.
Well, it certainly seems to be driving. At the same time, there's this hardware revolution going on with Chromecast. There seems to be a revolution and an acceleration in good quality content on Netflix and the other places. You've got like Orange is the New Black, and the thing with Kevin Spacey. What was that called? The
House of Cards. House of Cards.
House of Cards. There just seems to be an acceleration going on of great content. So you've got this proliferation of devices, the watches. You've got the Chromecast. You've got all these boxes, the Boxy Box, the Roku 4 now. So it's all kind of getting to the point where people can actually cut their cords. It's not just a dream anymore, it's a reality, don't you think, Chris?
I think it's getting very close for a lot of people. I know I did about 4 months ago or so, and haven't looked back since. Now we'll see how I feel come college football season and whether or not I'm regretting that or not. But yeah, I think the content is there. And the only thing really holding people back is still these contracts that people like HBO and ESPN have with the Time Warners of the world that are preventing them from, offering things like the Watch ESPN app on a subscription monthly basis as a standalone service. Once we get there, the future's wide open, man, and we live in a great time, and I think we're starting to finally see some of the technology that we started dreaming about 15 and 20 years ago when we first sort of found the internet and started thinking about the possibilities that existed.
Yeah, it's exciting, this acceleration of great content, along with the acceleration of these new ways to watch this content, and the Chromecast, and then the possibility of Chromecast sticks on steroids that Nick's exploring right now.
I haven't watched TV in 12 years, and that's why maybe I'm so pale. I don't know. But I except when I visit my father, then I would have watched normal TV because there was nothing. I mean, but when you I think the ISPs and the carriers are doubling the bandwidth every year right now. So that's kind of like the Moore's law of bandwidth. But what might happen because of the Chromecast is that we're going to see much more growth in bandwidth, and suddenly we'll see from one year to the next. And if this gets super popular, we'll see 4 times or 5 times more bandwidth being used by people year over year, and that means 1080p all the time at home. That means 1 or 2 or 3 hours of on-demand 1080p content at home for the average users. And that's if that happens, we're going to see an explosion in the quality, and the explosion is in happiness in society. It's going to be huge.
Well, but you bring up an interesting question, though, for me, Nicholas, because you're right. I completely agree with you. I think you're right that we're going to consume 3 and 4 times as much as we do now, and we're going to cut. You know, we are going to kill our cable subscription, but ultimately, our ISPs are still the cable and the phone companies for the most part, right? Are we still not going to end up paying them $150 and $200 a month because we need all this extra bandwidth that we don't currently need?
Hopefully not. $30, $40 max should cover whatever expansion in the fiber deployments that needs to happen worldwide in the next 2 or 3 years, and not in 20 or 30 years. So what needs to happen is that Austin, Texas needs to provide an example and just show the whole world that fiber needs to happen right now, and there's no arguments against it. All these ISPs saying, you don't need fiber, you can just use cable. That's just criminal, and that needs to be a giant priority. You need to have fiber everywhere within 5 years. That's the latest. And when you think about it, the price to install a fiber connection to every single home is not that much. It might just be a few $100s for each home. So it needs to be like a law. You install it, and then you can pay if it's $500 per apartment, you'll pay it over 2 years, whatever.
What do you think is running through the minds of the executives here in Austin at Time Warner Cable and Grande Communications and AT&T and the other providers? What do you think is running through their mind right now?
I think they're planning
with the imminent arrival of this huge mothership from outer space that's about to land on our city and transform our bandwidth.
I hope they're not going to block YouTube, because that's one of the things they might be thinking about. Is saying, Google, you want to try to compete with us? Well, we'll block you off. And all the people that are on cable internet might experience very slow and unbearable Chromecast experience, and that would be terribly sad, and hopefully it would be illegal, and some kind of Obama or something was just going to make a speech and say, don't do it, you know. But you never know, because they can easily cut it off. Like Comcast, if they feel a little bit insulted by this, they can just cut every Chromecast user is going to be cut off YouTube.
Well, not if they're subscribed to Google.
Right.
I mean, everybody's going to be switching to Google in Austin.
Yeah,
I can't see why anyone would stay with Time Warner, Grande, or AT&T.
Well, there's still going to be lots of people from one day to the other. So let's hope there isn't like some complete war that's going to happen. Like there's this CBS thing going on. Everybody's cutting CBS, and CBS is cutting everybody, and then nobody gets anything. The same thing could happen to YouTube. Let's hope not.
I think those are dying gasps of breath.
I even think Netflix.
The lumbering giants that are like falling like giant trees, you know.
I think Netflix has maybe 50 lawyers working in the whole floor somewhere, wherever Netflix is based, and they are working every single day kind of in panic mode, trying to keep content on Netflix, because I think there's already been some stories about one or the other of the big movie studios just pulling all their content off Netflix.
Yeah, because that's why they're ramping up these things with Kevin Spacey and Orange is the New Black and all these shows. They realize they're going to have to become a dynamic content provider themselves.
So if YouTube does $5 billion in revenue per year, or maybe more, let's hope it's more like 10 billion now. But if it does that, then that's a tiny fraction of what it needs to do in the next 3 years. So imagine YouTube being more than half of Google's revenue. This is what needs to happen. It needs to be urgent. So Google needs to really ramp up monetization, and all these shows. Orange is the New Black. The next Orange is the New Black needs to be made up for YouTube and for Netflix, and not for, there needs to be enough revenue for all these shows to happen directly there. And Google needs to say, hey, don't worry, we're just taking 5%, 10%, whatever. We're taking a small revenue share, but we're not going to try to grab more than half of all the profits from all this video demand stuff. So,
well, my hope is more the reaction of the Time Warners and the Grandes and the AT&Ts would be to try to compete with Google, not try to sabotage the viewers. Like they would lower their prices and increase their bandwidth and roll out fiber. I know AT&T came out with an announcement. It's right after Google had made their big announcement in downtown Austin. AT&T said, well, the city's got to give us the same deal they gave to Google. They said they can't give Google an exclusive deal, so we're going to get that same deal. Whether that comes about, we'll see. But that's my hope. Is that, what do you think, Chris? What do you think the Time Warners and the AT&Ts and the Grandes are going to do in Austin?
No, I agree with you. I think hopefully we see a little more competition, better pricing, and maybe fewer contracts. I hope that's what we see. I think they're going to have to, right? If they want to compete, if people are going to even consider using their services, they're going to have to offer something similar to what Google's offering them.
I think sadly it's still a monopoly, and there might be 100 million connections in the US or something like that. If there is 1 million Google Fiber connections, it's already going to be an incredible success. But I don't think there's enough people to have just 1 million users.
Yeah,
in the next 2 years,
they're not going to change prices all over the country. They'll only change prices in Austin. But unfortunately, I think. But yeah, I think they'll have to if they want to compete.
I mean, AT&T, if they're complaining, I mean, they could have had those deals 10 years ago. So it's basically BS. So
yeah, they're saying we're going to get the same deal. They said we're going to get the same deal as they do.
We'll see.
Marketing. We'll see.
AT&T probably has like 12 people on fiber somewhere in a corner of the U.S. somewhere, and they can just say, "Hey, we have fiber too." But, I've got
a fiber optic. I live out in the country outside of Austin, in a place called Cedar Creek. I live in a giant house, and I've got fiber direct to my house. It's a 14-mile fiber line coming direct from the Austin central office of Time Warner Cable. And for me to light that up, they want $600 a month for some measly bandwidth. It's like, about what I have now over copper, like 5 by 50. And that's just crazy. I'm hoping that it'll push Time Warner, and hopefully even reaching out to my area where Time Warner will have to compete with that. Because how can they possibly not respond to that? Who in their right mind would pay $600 a month for 5 by 50 when Google's offering 1,000 by 1,000?
Well, and unfortunately, it's probably going to take some of these bandwidth bottlenecks that Nicholas was describing earlier as we continue to stream more content in order to really incentivize these companies to make the investment, right, to roll this out everywhere.
Yeah. Nick, let me ask you this real quick before I forget. I don't want to fail to ask you this. What when are you going to wrap up your trip? Because I want to schedule another Chromecast cast for when you are available after your trip, so you can report back to the world on what you found.
So later today I'm going into Shenzhen, so that means I'm entering the mainland Republic of Chinese Communist, or whatever it's called. So it means that they're blocking Google+. So I'll have to use a VPN, and hopefully it might work to do this Hangout and stuff. I'll be there until the 21st of August. So 2 weeks of exhibition, or what do you call it? Exposition. Exploration. I'm gonna go in every single factory on all over Shenzhen, even though it's hot. As I'm on the equator, I'm on the tropical weather. Maybe I'll take off my T-shirt. I don't know, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's not gonna happen because I don't want people to have like medical problems. But I'll be there for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. Well, if you find a tunnel, if you can tunnel your way out of China back through the internet somehow and work your way back here, we'll try to do some break-in podcasts over your 2 week time. If we don't hear from you in 2 weeks, we'll definitely, as soon as you get back, we'll have another show, and we're going to have another show every Tuesday, and next Tuesday we'll have Jennifer back with us, and I sorely miss her because she does such a great job on those articles. So we look forward to having her do the newscast next time around. And if we can cut in with you from time to time, that'd be great. Otherwise, we'll see you in a couple weeks here. I think we're going to wrap it up, so I'm going to toss it over to Chris for some concluding comments, and maybe when you do your closing comments, you can maybe make some suggestions on what we could talk about next time. So Chris, first you, and then we'll go to Nick.
Okay, well, I guess in conclusion, we're still waiting to see a lot of what kind of potential the Chromecast has, and both in future hardware releases and in app releases from developers, which is the thing that I'm really most excited about. And one of the things that we should probably talk about next week that we probably should have talked about this week, but Kush has been doing some really interesting. The guy who does CyanogenMod has been doing some really interesting app development around the Chromecast with respect to RSS feeds and sending video from your Android device and so forth and so on. So maybe next week we want to feature, look at some of the development that's going on around Chromecast and some of the progress that's going on there.
Great. And tell people where to find you and where you hang out. And
sure, yeah. I hang out mainly on Google+, so you can find me on Google+, I think gplus.to/cwporter. You can also find some of the work that I've done over at cwporter.me and or on Twitter at cwporter.
Great. We'll hopefully you'll gain a few followers now.
Maybe.
And Nick, over to you to wrap it up and tell us what you'd like to talk about on the next Chromecast cast.
So, Paul, on the next show we can talk about the new Mega Chromecast Plus that we're going to launch on your website and launch with worldwide release. It's going to be cheaper, faster, more features inside, and it's going to be ready for the entertainment system, the Android 5.0, the Ubuntu 13.8, and running a preview version of Mac OS X for ARM, and Windows RT next. I'm just saying some things, but this is happening, and we're going to see all these devices, and we're going to see Larry Page and Sergey Brin on stage, showing our Hangout and saying, "Look right here. This is where everything's going. This is what I expect for next week."
All right, so I'm gonna line up the venture capitalists and angel investors here in Austin. You're gonna find the killer product in China in the next 2 weeks, and then we'll have a major announcement of a major product that we can release onto the world stage. Okay, maybe even Chris will give us a hand there with this project.
This is the first Chromecast in China.
First Chromecast in China. And pretty soon we'll be flooding the world with the next mega generation of Chromecast on steroids that Nick is going to discover, and we're going to find financing for here in Austin. So I'm looking forward to that, and who knows what'll come of this. So until next time, this is Paul Terry Walhus with the Chromecast Cast, and tune in next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central Time, and we'll have Nick and Chris with us, and we'll have Jennifer back, and then a couple of surprise guests I've got in mind. Hopefully we'll bring them in too. Thanks,
Steve
everyone.
Ballmer and Tim Cook.
All right.
Okay.